Well, let's stay with the city of Johannesburg because the countdown is on for the much anticipated G20 Leaders Summit that will be held in Johannesburg in November of this year. Today, though, an urban 20 mayors summit is being co-chaired between Johannesburg and Pretoria ahead of that main event. The delegates are from a grouping of cities within this G20 fold that will be discussing international urban policy. Well, to tell us more about that particular gathering is the Johannesburg Mayor himself, Dada Morero, who joins us in studio tonight.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, good evening to you.
Good evening, Polly.
Pleasure to have you in studio, finally. Been waiting for this particular conversation. Let's start with the U20 Mayors Summit. What is that about?
Well, the U20 Summit, it's a platform at which the cities that are linked to the G20 countries are afforded an opportunity to engage on common issues that are affecting municipalities and also then try to lobby whatever decisions and recommendations comes out of those meetings and to lobby them at the G20 Summit so that heads of states could also focus on issues that municipalities throughout are also raising so that we get support of national government. So basically that's what the U20 attempts to do, and it also attempts to ensure that we can share ideas and as municipalities on tackling whatever challenges that we have. You'd know that part of the core issues that we'll be focusing on in this meeting, it's issues around financing of municipalities, which we think it's an international issue, it's a global issue. How do we finance municipalities to make them sustainable and to make them to work? We'll be looking at issues around the digital economy and transformation, which we think is a key issue now globally around a digital economy. The third issue will be focused on climate change, which we think it's affecting everyone throughout the world. Yeah. So those are some of the key issues that the U20 will be focusing on with an intention to therefore lobby national governments at the G20.
I'm not going to waste any time, Mr. Mayor, because part of what the residents of Johannesburg would want to know is the state of readiness of the city of Johannesburg as the main host city for the G20 summit. And this at a time when there is much talk about the state of decay that the city of Johannesburg is in.
Well, we have not debated or denied any challenges, especially in the inner city and the CBD itself, where we're faced with serious issues in terms of decay. So we have not denied. But I guess the things that we've been trying to do to try and push back and change the face of the inner city, including bylaw enforcement, ensuring that there's compliance and all those issues. It's a program that we are convinced that it will yield results. Yeah. Yes, there are challenges there, and we're doing something. In terms of the readiness, we are ready. We've already hosted 3 meetings of the G20 that were hosted in Johannesburg. One at, I think 2 were hosted at Melrose and 1 at the Sandton Convention Center. So we do have the capacity to host these meetings, and we'll be hosting the G20, of course, in Newzroom. And we've made necessary preparations. We have visitors coming. We must ensure that we have made proper preparations. I'm actually from a G20 meeting today. We have also visited the Operations Center to look at how we're going to respond to disasters, to medical issues and all that stuff. So we are convinced that Johannesburg is ready to host the G20 meeting.
The president, the last time he visited the city, or should we say he made the rounds, yes, particularly in inner city Johannesburg, he did that at night. It's never been explained why he perhaps did not want to be seen by residents as he looked around, and he was very unimpressed.
I don't think he didn't want to
be about the state of the city of Joburg. Well, when do you think he might do the next round and hopefully at midday this time around?
No, he has been doing rounds. The last round was at the Johannesburg Library in the inner city, which is now complete. Hopefully in the next few days, he'll do another round to see that the work has been done. Remember, he's the president of the country, has a responsibility to ensure that the heads of state that he's hosting, he must ensure that he's hosting them and everything around that is correctly done.
Yeah.
The matters of the inner city or the CBD of Johannesburg, it goes a long way back in history, and we need to address them. And we have taken that as our priority as the city government currently, to address issues of crime, address issues of bylaw enforcement, and on a day-to-day, there are different programs that we are doing. I think even today we have been doing a compliance program around the inner city, so we continue to do so. However, we continue to call on Home Affairs, which we think is a critical partner that needs to help us. We've got so much undocumented and illegal foreigners within the inner city, also contribute in illegal businesses that they are running, and it forces us constantly to come and do compliance. And I think Home Affairs must come on board to help us. They were part of the meeting today, and we're hoping that the efforts that Home Affairs will also bring on board will help us to push back. There's a lot of things that needs to happen in the inner cities, not just cleanliness. There's also issues about compliance. There's also issues about how the resident itself carries themselves within their own city and taking care of the environment. So there's a number of issues that we have to deal with in the inner city.
I want to latch on to the conversation about Home Affairs and them needing to come on board in terms of documenting people that are here illegally. The Premier has been talking in the last few days, and part of his agenda is basically dismantling informal settlements, because he says in those informal settlements are the very undocumented nationals you talk about. But for him, this perhaps is where organized crime, transnational organized crime, is possibly also being driven from. Where do you fit into this agenda?
Well, the Premier did brief me today about the statements he has made and the intention of the programs that he wants to do. So I've agreed that we'll have a proper sit down where we'll look at what are the issues and how do we advance. You'd know that on the hijacked buildings, one of the difficulties which myself and the Premier agrees on is funding alternative accommodation. And that's exactly what the Premier is trying to address. Let's find alternative accommodation, deal with all informal settlements, deal with all hijacked buildings. Because remember, the law says once you move people, you are required to find them alternative accommodation. So you are saying, let's identify that piece of land, prepare it, so that we can go into the inner city full force, because that's what has been delaying us. Alternative accommodation. You'd know that in November last year, at least 2 buildings were able to evacuate. But what's stalling the program is alternative accommodation. So I've been trying to find different methods to address that problem.
Just before we move on that matter, the alternative accommodation, what would that look like? Because what you remind me of is a situation that took place in Cape Town a few years ago, where people literally were almost living in a refugee shelter. These people presumably will form part of those that are undocumented.
No.
And what kind of shelter do you
No.
place them?
The courts are specific, and they are clear that the accommodation should at least be comfortable. The accommodation should not be far from transport facilities, at least not far from schools. And remember, we're talking about South African citizens, because no law forces us to give alternative accommodation to illegal and undocumented foreigners. So our focus will really be of those who are South African citizens and those who are in the country legally. Those who are undocumented and illegal, Home Affairs has to take them back to the countries of their origin. So we are not obliged by any court. So we'll have to find an acceptable standard of accommodation, because it's our own people. We must ensure that we give them at least something that is quite decent, whilst those that are qualifying for RDP will be assessed, interviewed, and be prepared to move into the RDP areas. Those who are still on the waiting list, those who still need to register for accommodation will do so. Those who can afford rental stock will then be moved to rental stock. So you'll have to analyze the type of the resident you have and be able to direct them accordingly.
Very quickly, we've run out of time. MMC Kenikunene is no longer in his position.
Yes.
Is there someone who has since filled that post? There's much talk about a person who possibly may have replaced him.
Yeah, he has been replaced as a councillor. Remember, what happens is that you are a councillor before you are appointed in any position. So I appointed a councillor. A new councillor has been sworn in by the Speaker of Council, and we are finalizing who am I appointing in that position. And once I'm ready to announce, I will announce the person that will be occupying the position of the MMC for Transport. Currently, I'm the acting MMC of Transport till such time where I've made my mind, and then I'll make an announcement.
From which benches would that MMC come from in terms of the political parties that are part of this coalition?
No, we've got a coalition agreement, and therefore whoever is appointed might not necessarily be in any position. There might be changes that I'm going to effect. However, an MMC will be appointed who comes from the Patriotic Alliance. But it does not confirm which position as yet.
So you're going to mount a cabinet reshuffle of sorts?
It might move to that. We do not know. I will announce at the right time, only. But I can confirm that Kenikunene was replaced. There's a new councillor from the Patriotic Alliance, a young man, quite energetic and multilingual, and I think is a good person that we have.
All right. Finally, there is much talk about the leadership, your leadership of the city of Johannesburg, and the local elections are coming up next year. Helen Zille might be a contender. Are you going to raise your hand for mayor of the city of Johannesburg after that election has come and gone?
Well, the process of the ANC, you know, Xoli, are quite different from all other parties. So the process has not even started in the ANC. So the point where the process starts, you then get to be nominated. And once you are nominated, the regional leadership must then say, we are nominating the following 3 people. We normally don't nominate 1. 3 people that goes through a process of interviews, vetting, etc., etc. And finally, the national officials of the ANC will then confirm through the National Executive Committee who should be a candidate. Yeah. And at that time, I'm not sure whether I'll also be nominated by branches to be on the list, at least. And I think that's where you need to start. But should I be on the list and the ANC is satisfied with my performance, definitely I will raise my hand to contest.
But in terms of your energy levels, this is a job that you indeed would still be interested in?
No, I will be able to raise my hand. I'll still contest. If the ANC gives me the space to contest as a candidate for Johannesburg, I will do so. Regardless who other parties are fielding, let's go in there and contest.
Dada Morero, the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, thank you very much for your time this evening. Thanks indeed. All right.